Welcome back to part 2 of The Guilty Feminist. So plug in and get ready for the fun.
Welcome back to The Guilty Feminist! So let's crack on and get every minute out of this. Could we start Act 2 with something positive?
Could we?
Yes. There was a debate in Westminster yesterday, and I watched a bit of it. It seemed to go like this. Lots of MPs, including Labour MPs, going, this is an outrage. Palantir should not be in our NHS. This is disgusting. This is disgraceful. And the government saying, yeah, we don't like them either, but they're quite efficient. Nobody seemed to defend them. Did I miss the bits where people defended them?
Not really. Admittedly, I was working, so I was kind of like tuning in and out, living this kind of double life where I'm at work, trying to do the thing, save lives, one place or another. But yeah, I think you're right. People were not offering up any kind of real defence of them.
No.
And the only people that are really doing that are Palantir and people at NHS England who made it.
Linnéa.
Yeah,
shocked me.
Shock. Guy who built things thinks it's great. Yeah. So, yeah, there was no real credible defence of it that was offered up.
So,
did
it go well on as far as you're concerned? Did that debate go well?
100%. Yeah, I think we were really, really pleased to see that so many of the talking points that we've been trying to get out there for so long really got out there. We had a briefing that was published earlier this year. Medact published it in collaboration with some other great groups, Amnesty being one of them as well, and that was referenced a lot. And that's kind of really what accelerated this campaign recently as well, is like the hard evidence that we had for all of that. And crucially, one really big thing that got mentioned was the fact that, you know, in the public sphere, there's no real scrutiny that's going on about the numbers that are being offered up. And we had an article in the BMJ last week that was basically saying that the results that were offered with respect to the pilot that was first done ages ago. This is not positive news, but I'll keep going.
Keep going. Yeah. Push through.
The results.
Smile when you say it, and we will think otherwise.
Yeah, I'll dazzle you. But yeah, the results that were put forward that were used to kind of justify the rollout at the beginning, the methodology behind it was all completely flawed. And it's kind of note that the trust where that pilot happened, the chief exec had to step down recently because he was accused of trying to convince NHS officials to put GP data into the platform when there's very strict rules around the kind of governance of GP data. But of note, he used to work for Global Council and he sits on Palantir's health committee.
Oh.
So surprise again that the pilot trust made a tool that...
They're not even trying to hide it, are they? Do
No.
they think we're fucking stupid? Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I think they think we're powerless. Like, what can we do?
Yeah.
You know, I think, you know, what we've seen happen with Epstein is all of the worst emails about the most depraved things were released, and then nobody was held accountable, and then the public were able to be distracted. And I think it's really emboldened them to go, well, what if we do this in the plain sight of day? Who's going to stop us? And I think the answer to that needs to be us.
100%.
Needs to be us. We need to say absolutely not and keep working, as you are doing incredibly, doing 2 jobs, both being a radiotherapist and also doing this big campaign. You have had some success
Thank God.
in Manchester.
Yes, you have.
Tell us about your success.
Yeah, so in Greater Manchester, the Integrated Care Board there has so far refused to adopt the Federated Data Platform. That is mainly because we already have a great existing platform in place. It's called the Analytics Data Science Platform. It was built over the course of 6 years with kind of lots of different key people, so trusts, the universities, Health Innovation Manchester, and it was built to serve the community. And the reason as well that they've kind of completely refused to adopt is that they have evidence that the data that they're analysing, the way that they're then actioning that data, they have evidence that we're actually saving lives with it. And we also have a Greater Manchester Care Record, which facilitates the easy sharing of patient data, again, like what we were actually trying to do with the FTP in the first place. And it sits within a secure data environment that was built with patient trust and patient engagement at the heart of it from the beginning. So I think it's important to mention now as well that like trusts don't exist as part of a competitive research consortium in this country. Like it's a national health service, right? Yes. So there's no real reason why what we have in Manchester couldn't have been rolled out to the rest of the country. It's just like a political choice. But yeah, so we've repeatedly refused to adopt the federated data platform because we're going to lose functionality rather than gaining it. And then we'd have to pay for the privilege of doing that as well.
And some hospitals, on that podcast I told you about, some hospitals have refused, haven't they?
Correct.
They've just said, yeah, nah.
Yeah. And like, why would you tell hospitals at the moment where, you know, budgets are so strapped, people are firing, well, not firing, people are like being made redundant. In fact, no, some people are being fired in some places, but people are being asked to rip out existing tools that we know work well without proper evidence for what the replacement actually provides. And that's without even considering the ethical issues, right? So this is just like practical stuff. So yeah, massively commend the ICB leadership. Like they've really been very steadfast in this. They know that they're the only ICB in the country that haven't adopted. They know that they're under extreme political pressure, but they've been really clear in all their communications to everyone that they will not risk losing patient trust because they know that this is like the cornerstone of how health works. And in terms of like the campaign, that's really where we came into it. So we did a huge campaign mobilizing people kind of across the Greater Manchester area to provide the ICB with evidence that patient trust will be completely diminished if we went ahead with implementing the platform. So we really focused on trying to get organisations to kind of sign a petition rather than individuals because we wanted to show that this is like a really intersectional campaign. This isn't a one-issue thing. This impacts everyone across society. So we had radio stations, pubs, like gardening groups, bike co-ops, like, and that's obviously including other social advocacy groups as well, but kind of trying to highlight that this was a really cross-community campaign that happened. I kind of liken it a bit to the case with the Fulton 24, where after the trial of the first 6, they weren't able to convict any of them. And that's because when you present ordinary people with the realities of these kind of platforms, they can recognise injustice and they don't want any part of it. Yeah. So, yeah, I think in Manchester it's a really good case study of what you can do when everyone's aware of what's going on and you have leadership who will listen to you.
And you did Gordon and Denton. Manchester's been smashing it.
Yeah, I know.
For real.
Yeah. Could you talk a little bit about the reports of NHS staff being threatened with losing their jobs if they speak out about against the use of the FDP?
Yeah. So firstly, I absolutely want to big up all the health workers that have been speaking up and out against this because it's not easy to do when you're facing a company like Palantir. There's a lot of fear. Yes. And also in this environment now where NHS England is being completely decimated. So people really are risking losing their jobs. It's a cost of a living crisis. It's a big worry.
Are you worried about that? Because you're very high profile in this.
So I feel like I've... it's a bit different for people that are like the analysts. I feel like I have to use this semi-privileged position that I have where I feel like in my hospital, no one really knows who I am or cares who I am anyway. The people that are doing this, they're standing up for what they believe in. They're refusing to be complicit in facilitating the embedment of Palantir in our NHS because they recognise the long-term safety of their community around them. And, some of us are women. And like you said earlier, we've heard about him, Peter Thiel, thinking that the worst thing that can happen to democracy is women having the right to vote. We are social justice campaigners, and Alex Karp thinks that we are the biggest threat to Palantir, the West and America. Some people have ethnicities based in those countries where they're being genocided. Some people are trans and they're being prevented from crossing borders because their passports might be invalidated. Some analysts are... Palantir have said before that, Alex Karp said before that he wants to spray analysts that don't align with Palantir with fentanyl-laced urine from a drone. So, we know all these things, and we just don't want to enable these people.
We really thank you and respect you and admire you for what you're doing, for taking that stand and putting
Absolutely.
your jobs on the line. Thank you. Young nepo-fascist Lewis Mosley, head of Palantir UK, claims you're putting ideology ahead of patient interests. What do you say to him? He's here tonight. He loves the Guilty Feminist. You wouldn't expect it, but he loves the Guilty Feminist. He's always texting me that I'm a feminist butt. Or, hold on, is it I'm a fascist butt? I can't remember, but might have misread it. Allegedly, please don't sue me.
Allegedly.
This is under the parody laws. It's clearly a joke. People are laughing.
It's a joke. Don't
you
mean
can't.
it. It's lovely.
Yeah. What do you say to him when he says you're putting ideology ahead of your patient interests?
Yeah, I mean, of course he's going to say that. It's not lost on us either that the grandson of a fascist is trying to talk to us about ideology. But our ideology, and we're not shying away from being political, right, or ideological, but our political values are also based on the NHS values, which he clearly has no idea about. So we're talking about compassion, improving lives, working together for patients, making sure that everyone counts. And health is inherently political.
Absolutely.
The decisions that get made regarding kind of oil will affect kids that have asthma. When we don't have adequate housing, that's when we have damp issues, which leads to respiratory issues. All the things that are tied into health are deeply political. And you would probably be quite concerned if the person that was responsible for your health didn't care about these things, that they thought some kind of lives were more expendable than others. Well, as I say, Mosley and Palantir, they have access to power, which makes them get onto these platforms where they can kind of put across this idea that they're apolitical. But their work is political violence, right? And I think we're definitely going to see now kind of a bit more of a smear campaign coming for us, saying that we are, putting like our ideologies ahead of patients. But we don't have anything to gain here. Like, we're not, there's lots of other things that I'd rather be doing with my time. But I actually love the people that I work with, so I don't actually mean that. But
yeah, but you would rather be patient
be
care
here.
and
Yeah.
pastoral
No
care
one
for your
wants to be
colleagues
here.
than,
I mean, you're happy you're here, but you don't want to be here.
yeah,
we want to be here.
We want to be here, but we don't want to be here.
But it would be...
yeah.
It would be nicer if we were here talking about how to close the gender pay gap, but that's not on the agenda anymore.
Jeez, we're gonna
These
die,
fucking
guys. Fuck pay.
Glass ceilings smashed, whatever. Those days are over. We're now in here. Surely the Hippocratic Oath says first do no harm.
Yeah.
And Palantir, they say themselves that they do harm. They say that sometimes they're called upon to kill people occasionally, they say. Occasional killing, occasional. Turns out it's not really that occasional, actually. But you cannot say first do no harm and be holding these other truths in your hand.
Yeah.
And so that is not ideology. That is a fundamental contradiction of what it means to care for human beings and to heal human beings.
Yeah, exactly. And, a journalist tried to say to us the other day that we too are lobbyists. And that really made me laugh because we were like, they have access to power, the most kind of powerful governments across the world, so much money, influence, and it took us 6 months to make a reel. We didn't know how to do that stuff.
I feel that. So every comedian and actor, whatever, now has to run a television network. It's so boring.
I had to do a video for this. It took me hours.
Ages.
Hours.
I'm a feminist, but the only sympathy I've ever had for Nigel Farage was when he was making his cameos and someone caught him going, "Oh, fuck!" And I went, yeah, I've done that. I wouldn't put it out there on Cameo.
Yeah,
I don't
weird.
understand how they've got it. Anyway, it doesn't matter. The point is, don't really feel sorry for it, but the point is, what you are doing is absolutely in line with your role as a healer, a carer, as somebody who looks after the community. Socialized medicine means you cannot mix care and control. And so we need to move over to audience questions. But can we just ask you, before we do, Matt, what are some things we don't know about Palantir that would shock us?
Palantir are actually aware that their products might be used are being used for human rights violations, right? In 2020, Amnesty wrote to Palantir and said, hey, guys, you're aware of how the Trump administration is currently engaged in these mass deportations and workplace raids. Do you know that they are possibly using your tools to do it? And they said, listen, we are aware, I'm paraphrasing here, we are aware of the human rights abuses that this government is involved with, and we're concerned. We're really concerned. That's why we don't work with this very particular sub-agency that sits within this agency of ICE. And then still, they went ahead a couple of years later, and now again in the second Trump administration in the early 2025, and they supplied this AI-powered immigration operating system that tracks the life cycle of someone being identified as a possible threat or someone who needed to be detained, to then automatically deploying agents out to where they are and picking them up off the streets, right? They said, we know we're bad, but we're bad. We're gonna just do the thing. We're gonna provide the tool anyway, which is just another way of saying the whole idea that these companies are in any way engaged in or care about our health or our well-being or our rights is a moot point, because the company themselves are telling us that they've been aware the whole time, but they're still doubling down and amping up their efforts, right? And we see that, again, most prominently, we talked about Gaza before, in how they continue to double down on the most egregious cases, the most sensitive context that they could potentially be involved in. And they just continue to make it worse. And they're selling themselves, and we've been talking about this a bunch, but they continue to sell themselves as this way of making warfare and violence streamlined. If you've seen some of their ads, I don't know if you've seen some of them. Have you seen some of their ads?
Absolutely not.
If you look at some,
on Spotify. I swear.
No, but you don't joke. Yeah.
Ads. Oh no, it was
Ice.
ICE ads.
Ice.
Sorry, gosh, can't get in all the fucking organisations. Oh yeah, there were adverts for ICE on Spotify. Please leave Spotify if you can.
Yeah.
It's on the
You
BDS
can.
list.
Actually, you can. You must. If you would like to know how to leave Spotify, come and see me afterwards, and I will tell you exactly how to do it. Sorry to interrupt. But yes, what were you saying?
ads. So they have their ads for their products being used in warfare. They will show this flashy scene of this helicopter that's leaving the base, and it's being instructed by an operator that sat on the other side and looking at these flashy numbers and the screen that tells them exactly where to go and where to send this helicopter and where they should strike. And effectively what they're selling you is this idea that with the press of one button and with just one interface, they can make the whole life cycle of war end in like 5 minutes, that they can execute a war and precisely engage in warfare and killing in the most efficient, fast, and cost-effective way possible. But what they're hiding is that so much of how that happens, who is being selected and why, what data sources is being used and why, who had oversight over any of this, who gave permission to the data being handed over, all of that is collapsed. None of that is visible to the operator. And in fact, if you guys are aware of the forward deployed engineer that they often send out, so like Palantir products don't work without Palantir sending one of their engineers out to literally redesign the entire organization's data infrastructure so that products can work with them. So only the Palantir engineer and Palantir knows exactly how this data is going to be used and what means what variables translate into what flags. And nobody else does. None of the consultants in the NHS, none of the commanders and operational people that are sat with the interfaces themselves are necessarily aware of the ins and outs of these systems. Only Palantir.
So they create their entire criteria themselves, and they don't even share that.
They don't share it. It's all bespoke. When you go to their website, it looks completely generalist, but when you buy their product, they send a forward deploy engineer who will redesign your entire infrastructure to fit their model.
If you could get rid of AI, would you?
Absolutely. AI is a marketing tool, right? AI is a marketing tool that repackages violence as something that's sexy, marketable, and efficient. That's all it is. Nobody's ever telling you what the tool actually is when they say AI. They just tell you that the computer can do things. We promise. But has anybody ever told you that this is a predictive policing tool, or this is a biometric recognition tool, or that this is an algorithm that compares data sets and tries to glean X, Y, Z? Nobody actually tells you what the product is. And when they don't tell you what the product is, and when it's efficient and cost effective, usually you're the product or the target.
product.
You're the product or the target, my God. Who would like to
Sam.
ask Matt or Linnéa a question?
I've been reading, listening, learning to everything, not just tonight, but in the past couple of years. We can't just talk anymore. We have to do. And after that discussion yesterday in Parliament, where all these MPs were shouting objection, etc., and the government just go, oh, well, they're here now. So as Greta famously said, no more blah, blah, blah. So what do we do?
I mean, okay, I can kick us off. There are local ways of getting involved. In particular, in the UK, we were just talking about this before. Palantir wasn't a household name, 6 years ago. It was hardly a household name a week ago. In the last 2 weeks, as Linnéa will tell you, things have really gotten massive. And Palantir is, in a way, relatable at the kitchen table in our homes in a way that it has never been before. And we need to seize on that momentum. That looks like going to your MP and telling your MP that you will not have Palantir run your NHS, that you will not have Palantir service the FDP. It looks like going to our various partner organizations as well as Amnesty's local chapters and getting involved with actually going out and galvanizing the community as well as, again, your MPs towards taking action on Palantir. And it's remembering that none of these products work without our data, right? They don't. They're nothing. The entire, what they call ontology, the thing that mirrors the infrastructure that they can then deploy programs on, that's our data. Right? So if we refuse to have our data used in those ways by going to our MPs and perhaps in some instances even going potentially to the Information Commissioner's office, potentially making complaints along GDPR lines, there are ways that we can engage in using our own ownership of our data as well in saying no.
Can we say to our GP in our hospital, we don't want... Can you withdraw, like the way that Manchester isn't using it, or is there no way of doing that?
No, so the national data opt-out doesn't cover this because there's a clause that they use where it's because it's tied into your direct care. That's kind of their way of getting out of it. So the national data opt-out only applies to kind of data that would go to research. So you can't. So GP data is slightly different. At the moment, it shouldn't be shared. There are instances where we've been told that it has been kind of put onto the FDP without disclosure, but we're now doing a bit more of a push in kind of the GP world, and actually the Doctors Association UK came out really quite strongly against this just the other day. So I think whilst we individually can't be like, I refuse, we can collectively build our power as kind of workers, patients, and that's what we've been doing for the last 2 years. So we're actually a pretty well organised campaign, really. We have local groups all across the country. So if you go onto the Health Workers for a Free Palestine Instagram, there's a link tree, and you can kind of contact us. If you live here, there's definitely loads of local groups in London. We're not just health worker groups; we're kind of health worker and patient groups, and we're working now very, very closely with Amnesty, which is great. It's been actually really refreshing to see a group like Amnesty recognise the importance of grassroots coalitions. So we're working together and understanding the realities in our kind of localities and where the pressure points are to push. And that's actually why we're having this discussion today. That's how it's got to be so big now at this point, because we've really been working quite hard on this. So yeah, if you want to get involved in the campaign, really, that's probably the best thing that you can do at this point.
There's a break point in the Palantir contract with the NHS in 2027, right?
Yes.
So that's the point where we need to be working towards that date, where we say, and that's where we exit. What is that date?
February 2027. I don't know if there is an exact date, but February 2027.
February 2027 is the break clause, like in your lease for your rented flat.
Yeah.
You say to the landlord, actually, the carpets are awful and you keep spying on me. So I'm going to go. So that's what we're aiming towards. Yeah. So we need to be putting a lot of pressure on between now. That's not long to go between now and February 2027.
I should do a little shout out actually as well, given that we're in London. On May the 10th, I should have checked the date. It's either 9th or 10th. Again, if you go to our Instagram, you'll be able to find it. But we're having an onboarding day in London and in Manchester. And there's also going to be an Amnesty onboarding session on April the 28th. Yeah.
Amika George, can you figure out what those exact dates are so we can give you the mic and you can tell those dates at the end? Oh, okay.
May
Right.
10th
She knows. She
and
knows.
April the
Okay,
28th.
Okay, sorry, I spoke over that now, so this is hopeless. Okay. Amika, can I give you the mic?
Yeah, I was going to give you my mic.
This is Amika George from Amnesty International. She was one of the youngest guests we've ever had on the podcast because she did a massive campaign when she was a school student on getting period products into every school in this country, and she succeeded. She's now a very grown up and proper, like, Amnesty International. That's how I see her. I see her as like, oh my God. But she is 27 and she does not want to be talked to about it like this. Cut this out of the podcast, Tom. Amika George, when are the dates, the key dates?
It's April the 28th. If you go online and you look up Amnesty UK, No Palantir and on NHS, there's a webinar where we'll be handing over to Health Workers for a Free Palestine to bring everyone onto the campaign. And then we're going to organise to onboard people into their local chapters to push their local trust or ICB to say no to Palantir.
Okay, so join that campaign.
Thank you.
And you're right. We need boots on the ground. We need people actually acting. We can't just post about it on Instagram and think we've done it. Those days are gone, sadly.
And also, and like, obviously we've got the break clause that's so funny, in 2027. But vote, because this came through under a Tory government.
Yeah, it's the council elections coming up soon as well. So
Absolutely. So
get everybody out.
Yeah.
And the more we can vote tactically, vote tactically and tell Labour through your vote that you will not stick with Labour if they stick with Palantir. We can make a real feature of that
because we're not gonna allow Palantir to have control over our data if we have a Green Party Prime Minister.
No.
That's just not going to happen.
No,
so don't feel hopeless, because I'm with you. Like, I feel really, really hopeless a lot of the time. But this is something that is active. It's real. The only reason why Palantir got that contract is because it was fucking Boris. Like, none of us are going to be voting Tory in here, are you?
I don't think anyone's voting Tory anymore. They're on the polls. They're like, even people who vote Tory aren't voting Tory.
I'm a feminist, but like, obviously the Tories are like crashing to the ground when it's a black woman who's a fucking like racist.
Can we have another question from the audience? Let's get in there. There's somebody there. Oh, there's somebody there, and then somebody down here. Great.
Can I ask, is there anything we can do, like on a personal daily basis, to prevent ourselves being surveilled quite so much? Like, I'll wear a tinfoil hat if you tell me to at this point.
Really good question.
Matt, what can we do to stop being surveilled so much?
I mean, the major thing that you can do is, again, going back to the question of how is this collective versus individual, the major thing you can do is vote, because who is in power has such a massive impact on what technologies get deployed. The other thing that you can do at the personal level is being aware of the fact that anything that you put out effectively in the public sphere can be sucked up by probabilistic algorithms that can make determinations about who you are, where you're likely to be, what you deserve, etc. And so in those instances, making sure that your social media engagement, for example, is on social media platforms that are secure, that are encrypted, that potentially aren't meta. Well, they hardly exist. However,
but no one is on those.
your friends will be on it.
Matt,
What are they? What are the encrypted ones?
We have a few. So like, you can contain your social groups to Signal, right? They're not public, they're not public like your Instagrams and your Twitters, X's of the
if
world.
I need to
Signal
fill
for
a
my
theatre,
neighbours,
though,
Right.
I can't just be on Signal because these people will not hear about the show.
That's
And
very fair.
I'm a feminist, but I did post a very handsome picture of you, Matt.
You're very kind.
This was not that well sold until I did that, and then bang. So
I was so offended. I was like, what? Don't they fucking like me? And then you post a picture of you.
Okay.
And went to the room.
Okay. More questions from the audience.
Wait, can I add one more thing? It's really,
please.
really one thing that you can do as well is, we are aware that facial recognition cameras, for example, are everywhere across the UK, but especially in London. You can take protective measures when you're participating in protests, for example, and make sure that you're obscuring your face. Wear a face mask, put on what we call dazzle makeup, which in ways obscures you from the algorithm. Or, and I'm not promoting this, but people have engaged in different forms of civil disobedience in terms of the cameras, in terms of making people aware that they're there. Some groups have put stickers on them. Some people have done other things. And, take from that what you will.
Very careful there, Matt. Yeah. He works for Amnesty. Some people have done some things. I'm not advocating for those things.
Love it.
Yes, please.
So I work in reproductive justice and I'm here this evening through Abortion Rights and Reproductive Rights Activist Collective. And we've already seen in the US, even before AI became this ubiquitous, we've seen use of period tracking data be used to prosecute women for abortions. And with the way that we are going, particularly tying Palantir into the NHS, what does that look like for one of the biggest constraints to feminism, which is women's access to reproductive autonomy? Like, what's the direction for that?
What we've seen is a sort of a laissez-faire approach to what companies are given free roam to corporatize and to make a profit off of. And that gained particular traction in the United States when indeed Roe v. Wade was abolished, and we instead ended up in an era in which data around where people were moving from to get reproductive care was being sold to the highest bidder. Data brokers finally had their big windfall, as it were, because suddenly government had made it completely fair to use this data in this way. And I think what this does is it sets a new standard in terms of what is often referred to as a reasonable expectation of privacy. When what the reasonable expectation of privacy is moves lower, what companies can do and what governments and judges will see as acceptable also moves. And so in part what we can do here in the UK in stopping similar developments in which profiteering can happen on the back of our data, even access to reproductive care if the worst government is elected, is to right now draw the line at Palantir and say that we will not have this data be shared in these ways, that our reasonable expectation of privacy is far higher, that we expect that our reproductive care, that our political affiliations, that our access to all of these services that we have a right to are protected and not shared with a company that's engaged in potentially contributing to international grave crimes in Palestine and enabling the persecution of people who are seeking basic reproductive care in the United States.
Any more questions?
We just to jump off on that, we did an episode, the last episode that I did with Jane Bradley from the New York Times, where we were talking about Farage and him sidling up to Christian nationalist parties. So that's a really fantastic episode to listen to, but also again vote. Like that is not going to happen under a Green Party government. So really, really, really important.
Yeah, or even a left-wing coalition that's
Yes.
more left-wing. I'm really hoping for a big old left-wing coalition that forces where, if Zach cannot get in the next election, that forces Labour to go more left. We've got lots more questions, so let's try and get through them. Because I want.
This kind of leads on from this. I'd become aware of Palantir because, as I understand it, they also have stakes in most of the main dating apps that we might use. So
Dating apps?
Yeah.
No, do they?
Yeah, there's some kind of big business connection there.
Oh shit.
I actually can't even remember which one it was anymore. I don't remember which. Do you remember which dating app it was? No, but like I have a friend that just sends me like, oh, not another one. And I think the other day as well, someone said that a website kind of basically said that Uber, it looked like they were maybe going to start using Foundry. That's not verified yet, but it was like they had the domain, the like website domain was basically being used, and I think that's kind of how a lot of people are tracking who's using Foundry.
Everything's going to get connected up.
So
that's the Uber she took to the place where she got the abortion. We know because of her period tracking act. We know who got her pregnant because of this. I mean, it's just, how hopeful are you we can stop this, Matt?
I do want to hear the rest of the question, but yes.
Extremely
hopeful.
hopeful. We've just seen them kicked out of New York's health services, right? That's a massive win. In New York City, where they got their first foothold.
Yeah, that's
if they can be kicked out of there, I mean, if it
was
can
that
happen there, it can
Mamdani
happen
that did
anywhere.
that?
It was Mamdani.
Well, that's it. Again, who you vote for?
That is Mamdani.
I feel like it was like the workers and the patients, though.
Sorry, yes. Under Mamdani, it was everyone else campaigning.
There is one of the apps that they're now connected with. I can't remember more about it. Sorry.
Is it all of it?
Oh.
Is it bum?
Even worse.
But just to add to this, like the question is not only about what companies does Palantir have a stake in that are, out there as being dating apps and that are immediately visible and available to us. It's also about what are the data brokers that have access to both the data coming out of the dating apps and potentially work with Palantir and Palantir's products. Because those data brokers are ultimately the ones that are aggregating all of the information from your social engagements with these apps and selling them to the highest bidder. And those companies are often some of the shadiest ones that are engaged in selling us out right before our eyes, but we have no idea who they are, what their names are, or who's got stakes in them.
I would like to start a commune in the Outer Hebrides. If anyone's willing to come with me. Who else has got a question? There's a question there.
First of all, I want to recognise my privilege for NHS Scotland because they are brilliant. So, round of applause for all the workers at NHS Scotland. But I just want to know, what impact does this have on NHS Scotland, if you know? And also, as someone who's very, very sick and considering private healthcare, what does that impact have on sharing that data with private healthcare and, the back and forth of that?
Very good. Linnéa?
As I think NHS Scotland and Wales are quite correctly just observing from afar at the moment. But I don't actually know that much more about it, unfortunately. And yeah, I guess with respect to your question about private healthcare, it would just be the next venture for them, right?
Yeah. But they're not currently in private healthcare. Or we don't
I actually don't know.
I mean, we don't know if they're in Hinge or not, so how would we know if they're in Bupa? A question up there?
It was just the thought about private healthcare is there a chance that the NHS will be given over to Palantir, but private healthcare won't, and then privacy will be a luxury?
Oh, good point. Oh, can you afford
Fuck
privacy?
That's
yeah, okay. One more question up there. I think there's one more question. Really quick.
Let's go at the back.
Just wondering, from a GDPR perspective and all the laws around GDPR, can we opt out of Palantir or whatever it's called?
No.
Palantir.
No. So this is what I mentioned before, where there is like a national NHS data opt-out that is in place, but that only relies on your data going towards research. So because the types of tools that they're kind of making and the platform, they're claiming that it is directly involved with your patient care. And as a result, you can't opt out of it.
So we have to campaign really, really hard.
However, if there was a leak at any point that any information had been used through the Palantir platform and been de-anonymized and been used in other purposes than for your care and have been abused as a result of their processing through Palantir platforms, you have a right to then submit for a GDPR complaint. Right. And submitting for and I know this is like down the line because we haven't had this case yet. But and we may not get that case, and so it's really worth that we campaign at this collective level. But there is a possibility.
As part of the campaigning, can we just all submit complaints that we don't want our information?
Yes, there's a tool that you can use.
So can we just all go to the ICO and just submit random complaints and say, yes, I do not want?
You can't go through. So again, you would need to have a case in which you show that there is a breach, that your data has been used potentially in a way that that is abusive towards outside of the mandate of how it's supposed to be used within the patient care.
Well, you must be able to hack in and make that happen.
Come on, back.
Amnesty tech isn't quite spy tech, but yeah, it's.
Yeah.
But yeah, there is
that, man.
I think this all the time.
Yeah, what are they doing?
Yeah.
Biding their time.
I know.
They are biding their time for sure.
But on that, there's a tool that you can use. Good Law Project have a tool. Over 65,000 people have already used it to complain to their local NHS trusts to say that they don't want to have their data going towards it. They kind of recognise that they kind of take all these complaints and they go, well, we can't help it. But I think it is actually registering with them. And the trusts that aren't going ahead with it see that.
So we go to the Good Law Project website.
Yes,
and
there's
we
a
search
tool
for
Yeah.
NHS complaints.
Palantir.
Complaints.
Yeah.
It'll come up. Okay. So we've got to finish, but I just want to say, is there anything you came to say that you didn't get to say, Matt?
We need to get Palantir out of our NHS. We know this. This is for reasons of your data, your future, your safety, this country's ability to operate on a democratic basis in which it isn't controlled by a company. But the second thing is also that NHS is crucially a part of the political economy that contributes to genocide, unlawful occupation, and apartheid in Palestine. There's actually an obligation on third-party states to ensure that they're not contributing with economic activity under international law that could lead to the worsening of genocide, that could lead to unlawful occupation continuing. And we know that the Commission of Inquiry of the UN found that there was genocide in Gaza and in Palestine. And we know the advisory opinion of the International Court of Justice has said that there is a plausible risk of genocide. So again, it activates that prevention duty by third-party states. So actually the UK is obligated to ensure that it's not contributing with that economic activity. And so Palantir, by being given a platform here, by being supported through gaining foothold and generating profit on the back of our data and our access to the NHS, is actually being given profits to continue what they're doing in the context of Gaza and Palestine. So one way in which we stifle and choke that political economy of genocide, of unlawful occupation, apartheid, is by kicking by kicking Palantir out of the NHS. Not a Freudian slip, I promise.
Matt, my MP is Keir Starmer. Would you help me write an email to him?
Absolutely, anytime.
If you help me write an email to that effect, because he's a human rights lawyer. Lol. Linnéa, is there anything you came to say you didn't get to say?
I guess just in a nutshell, because I think, we all sit here and we sigh and we think that these things are too big to overcome, but they're not if we move together collectively. And that's what we've been doing with our refusal to comply. Just make sure that you tell everyone that this is a very, very intersectional campaign. This isn't a single issue campaign. It's not just about the NHS. It's actually not even just about Palantir, right? There's actually numerous other nefarious companies that could come in and take their place if they wanted to. So this is about privatization, sovereign data control. The one contract is just a strategic target so that we can kind of weaken their plans to expand into the UK, but we can do this, and February 2027, we will be victorious.
Yes. Amen. Join the campaigns. Go to the Amnesty website. Get involved. Come to this day if you can. We'll have all of this on the show notes. And on the 30th of April, we will be at the Leicester Square Theatre, which is a 400-seat theatre. So if you could come, that would be great. And if you could bring 20 or 30 of your closest friends that you've just met on Signal. That would be super great. It's me and Rialina with Carol Cadwallader and Lucia, who was one of the only journalists allowed in the Ghislaine Maxwell trial. We're not going into any gory details about Epstein because I worry people are going to feel trapped in a theatre. We're talking about the conditions that allowed it, why we haven't got justice, and what we can do going forward and what it means for our society. It's going to be a great show. There's going to be comedians, there's going to be music. It's going to be like a bigger one. So if you could all get a ticket for that, that would be fantastic. 30th of April. And back here on the 14th of May, where we're working with the Global Human Rights Group about how the global situation for women and girls has changed since Trump's been in. And then back here on the 22nd, and this one's a really big one. It's just back in this room, but it's Alice McCool, who wrote an incredible piece in the Byline Times about a transatlantic network of anti-abortion lobbyists using legal challenges and coordinated campaigns to shape NHS policy and challenge bodily autonomy in Britain. So it's Christian nationalists, basically, from America using money and influence to try and change our policies. That is... You will want to come to that one. That one's 22nd of May back here. There's other shows. You can look at them on the website, but those are the ones I wanted to tell you about. Please meet people in the bar, chat to them. Every night after the show, I see people talking about this stuff, changing phone numbers, telling each other about their own campaigns, and we'd love you to do that. Susie, do you have anything to plug?
I've got absolutely nothing to plug, mate.
Great. Anything else to plug? Anything to tell us about? Anything you want us to do, get involved with? That's the names of the campaigns.
Yeah,
everything.
just join. Go check out Health Workers for a Free Palestine. Like I said, onboarding days, 10th of May. They're happening in London and Manchester, but also you can find your local group. We can put you in touch with them and just get organised.
Great.
Well, I do have one thing to plug.
Yep.
Can you please share this episode with all your friends, all the Road to Gilead episodes? They are brilliant, they are specific, and they are literally geared for us to act. Getting into rooms like this, it's really, really lovely, but it means nothing if we don't leave the rooms and then do whatever we need to, whatever we can, in order to stop these nefarious companies and people and parties gutting this country of the things that make it so great, like the NHS. So please, I'm plugging this show. Share it with all your friends, please. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, and Shanji would like me to plug this week's episode.
Anyone else want to plug anything? Joking.
She's in it. It's about endometriosis and a landmark legal case about women being fired for having endometriosis and making endometriosis a disability. That is out right now. You can listen to it now. Come along, get involved. Sign up to our mailing list is the best thing, guiltyfeminist.com. Sign up to the mailing list. Any Road to Gilead activities, which is all about this fighting of the far right, will come up there. Also, I've written a lot about this in my book, which is now out in paperback, so you can afford it. It's called Six Conversations We're Scared to Have by Deborah Frances-White, and it's in all good bookshops and quite a lot of mediocre ones. So get that now. Thank you so much. A few of my trans friends lately have been saying that they've been quite dehydrated because they've been going out and they feel really like they don't want to use the loo, so they don't drink. And so could you just look out for your trans friends? Maybe send them a text.
I'm so dehydrated.
Oh, thank you.
Darling.
Just ask your friends to go, ask your friend, do you want me to come to the loo with you?
Yes.
Because that helps if you're chatting and then people, don't want to get involved in that. And just look out and support trans stuff. Elliot Page is coming, I've seen it, and is doing a full trans Shakespeare. And I thought if we all just buy tickets,
Yes,
and
yeah.
get involved, I'll see you there. Could I have an absolutely huge round of applause for Linnéa Freear? Everything you're doing. And that applause is not just for what you did tonight, but it's for everything you're doing every day.
And the whole campaign.
You're doing 2 jobs, and we really appreciate it to protect us. And Dr. Mahmoudi, who is also doing 2 jobs. We'd love to have you back on. We want to know more. I'd love to do a whole other episode. We should do a big town hall with you guys. My incredible co-host, Susan Wokoma. Do get involved in more Road to Gilead events, more Amnesty International events. Come along. You've been an absolutely wonderful audience. I would happily have you in the same order next time. So come back to the next shows. I'm happy with this exact same audience just following us around. You've been absolutely wonderful. I've been Deborah Frances-White. We've been the Guilty Feminists. Thank you. Good night.
Sorry. Big round of applause for Deborah Frances-White. Give that.
You have been listening to The Guilty Feminist with me, Deborah Frances-White, guest co-host Susan Wokoma, and our very special guests, Dr. Mahmoudi and Linnéa Freear. The recording engineer was Grundy Lizimbra. The Guilty Feminist theme tune was composed by Mark Hodge. The producer was Tom Selinsky for The Spontaneity Shop. Thanks to Gina DCO, Zainab Mohammed, Ned Sedgwick, and everyone at the Museum of Comedy, as well as all of you for listening. For more information about this and other episodes, visit guiltyfeminist.com.